the least stacked division right now.
I think welterweight's pretty weak right now. I've never been super impressed with Bilal.
He's scoring points and he's fighting not to lose. So Ian Heinisch, when your life is literally being a drug mule, you don't think of those guys becoming professional athletes. He started training while he was in prison. I think Ian like literally trained outside of prison for like 4 years, made in the UFC, which is insane. It's kind of like a John Jones story.
Yeah, he got caught with like 2,000 pills of ecstasy or something.
Yeah.
So he fled the country. He didn't even have a passport when he got arrested. He got arrested for like federal drug charges. And then he was like, you know what? I'm just going to get my passport and leave. And they were like, here you go.
Yeah, post office was like, we'll give you one, don't worry.
Cause my mother told me as a child, boy, don't play around with fire, cause you might just end up getting burned. And I know the wicked never rest, so I always try my best, but there's some lessons hard for me to learn.
What's up, dude? What's up? Let's go, man.
Dude, how do you feel?
So for all of our followers, I just got my wisdom teeth pulled, so I feel great because I'm on oxycodone, so that feels amazing. But other than that, yeah, I feel great.
Your jaw looks a little bit more chiseled than usual.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I was expecting the chipmunk jaw, but I feel like that didn't really swell up. So
No, it doesn't look too bad.
I don't look too bad. Yeah.
I remember when I got mine taken out, I was like out of my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Like how so? Were you out of your mind? Just like
I was like very like delirious, and I couldn't really remember. Like there was like a bunch of stuff. Like I remember I was looking for my cat, but my cat had like passed away like years ago. Like it was like a childhood cat, but for some reason I thought like
it was,
reincarnated. Like at that point in my life.
Yeah.
So they were like, we don't have a cat. Like the
cat's gone, Brandon. He's been gone for years.
Yeah, so it was weird. Did you have anything like that?
Oh, I was filming some like crazy videos, sending them to my wife. I guess I was talking in like when they were getting me out of the dentist chair. I was saying that, oh, I'm ready to fight right now. Like Ian Gary, Joaquin Buckley, they suck, this and that. So I like have a video of me saying that and sending it to my wife too, which we should definitely post with this episode because it is pretty funny. I think everybody will get a good kick out of it. So
we'll keep it like kind of on the low.
Yeah.
And then
for now,
when I
fight one of them, then we'll bring it back up for sure.
So what did you think of that fight?
So we were together when we watched it.
And we were super upset, by the way.
Yeah,
I was laughing because we literally did the same thing when that fight ended. We like stood up, and both of our wives were like, "Are we leaving now?
It's time to leave." And that we're like, "Sorry, no, we're just hyped up about this fight." But you know, I'll give Ian Gary credit for taking the fight on, I guess, short notice. It was like a month or 4 weeks, whatever. He had a good game plan. You know, and he definitely, the first 3 rounds definitely dominated. And then Pratis just never woke up, I feel like, until the 5th round, which was kind of crazy because you would think, you know, the chain smoking guy would be the guy who would dominate the first couple rounds and then just die off towards the end when the cardio really comes into play. Total opposite. Yeah, he woke up in the 5th and should have finished the fight in that last minute, and he just didn't.
That was so frustrating to watch.
That was he could have soccer kicked him in the body. He could have done a bunch of different stuff to like finish the fight.
The first few rounds of that fight were so frustrating to watch for a completely opposite reason.
Yeah.
We were just like, dude, like you need a little bit more volume. Like you're doing absolutely nothing.
More volume, and then it's just frustrating when an Irish guy is out wrestling you, and like Ian Gary's not known for his wrestling. You know, he showed it some in the MVP fight, but like he's not like an amazing wrestler. You know what I mean? He just knows how to wrestle a little bit and was able to do it on Carlos Pratis, and Pratis was like, I guess Pratis wasn't expecting that. You know,
yeah.
So
I will say that Carlos definitely cracks though.
Oh
when he can connect.
Oh, he's a one punch kind of he puts you out with one punch kind of guy. I think he proved that in the Neil Magny fight. He didn't even hit Neil Magny clean, and Neil Magny just like flopped to the floor. And I was like, oh, did he even hit him? And then like he like clipped the temple, and that was it. So like he's definitely a one punch, I'll put you out kind of guy. So he's dangerous.
I definitely feel bad for him being the first fighting nerd to lose.
Yeah. Oh, dude. All the memes of like, the fighting nerds like, you know, welcoming him back, and like there was like a bunch of videos of him like like how they would welcome him back or like treat him after he lost. I thought that were really funny. Yeah, I mean, but dude, you take big fights. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I seen this one where it was like a picture. It almost looked kind of like a family photo of all of them, and it was like a picture of the fighting nerds, and they like cropped him.
They ripped him out. They're like, you're done. You're out of here.
That's so messed up.
Yeah.
We got some. Honestly, like the UFC landscape is super weird right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know what's going to be kind of. It seems like we might be getting Islam Topuria.
Yeah.
We were going to get freaking Drakus Hamzat, and then freaking Drakus fucked up his shin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I forget what he did, but I think he like snapped his leg or did something to his leg, dude. So I don't think he's going to be fighting.
Oh, that's a serious injury.
Yeah.
If he snapped his leg. That's like if you clean snap, that's a long time.
Don't quote me on that. But okay. Something bad. Something's holding that up right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, and what Islam and Topuria, they're not fighting right now, right? I heard there's like rumors that Islam might move up, and that's why they can't quite make the matchup. They don't know whether Islam's going to move up, but they're saying that Topuria is for sure going to fight for the belt. That's what the last thing I saw.
Oh, I guess they're saying Drakus said that he's not injured. It was a fake rumor. If that's true, dude, Hamzat.
Yeah,
Hamzat's. I'm glad that he's getting the time.
Oh yeah, out of all the guys, I think that's the most like entertaining matchup. I think that's what everybody wants to see.
I feel like of all the guys in that weight class, I mean, I don't know if it's just because he's had like health scares and stuff like that, where it seems like he's had to just beat way more people to get to the top of the mountain than a lot of those other guys.
Well, I think in his career, I know when COVID was going on, he got COVID like really bad. He almost got taken out by COVID.
Oh, he had it for like 2 months.
Yeah, which is insane. But they were saying that he's like is a classic like overtrainer. Like he overtrains and like wears his body down like really bad. And that on top of trying to when he was fighting at 170 was just not good for him. So I think
I also think he has the quickest turnaround in UFC history.
I think 1 week.
Yeah, it was like 1 week. He fought and then
he fought 170 and then I think he fought Jack Hermanson at like 185. Like the next weekend, he's like, I'll fight again, and they gave it to him,
which is savage.
That's savage.
That's probably
that's a good record to keep.
That's
like
badass
quickest turnaround in UFC history. Like that's a good record to hold.
I kill everyone.
I think that fight with Drakus though is not going to be easy. I don't think because he's able to wrestle guys, but Drakus isn't like the greatest technical fighter, but he's super athletic and like he's physically like a specimen, like Hamzat. And I don't know if Hamzat's gonna deal with it as well as he has other guys in the past. Like I don't think he'll be able to deal with it. He's not gonna be able to make it look easy like a Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
Although that's what we said about Robert Whittaker, and then he did that. So maybe I'm just completely wrong, but I just don't see it being a 1-round fight.
I feel like, especially with his wrestling style, he has the ability to smother somebody like that and make it a really dirty fight.
Yeah. So,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah. I think with that, though, Drakus has the same ability. Drakus has shown he can put guys on their back. He can wrestle. And I think you're going to see more of a striking matchup. If Hamzat can't take him down and finish him in the first round, then you're going to see a lot more striking, which it'll be good to see. It'll be good to see them both strike and see who's going to come out on top.
What do you think of that Merab O'Malley rematch?
I watched the first press conference for the upcoming fight, for their second fight, and O'Malley seems very reserved. Like very reserved versus like he usually is trash talking, flamboyant, has his antics. He was a lot more calm and just like, I think Sean's kind of turning a new page, and I think it's gonna be a really good fight. I think he's serious.
Do you think typically, like if you were the champ and you lost the belt, you should get the rematch right away?
Matters how you lose, like it matters how many times you defend the belt. Like I think if you just got the belt and then you lose and say you lost by knockout, then you probably shouldn't get a shot. But like O'Malley, I think the one thing O'Malley has,
Dana White privilege.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, Dana White privilege.
I love that.
I love that guy. Yeah, I love that term. But like he's a character, you know what I mean? Like he's got his spiel and people like it. And he sells tickets.
And he sells merch, dude.
He sells a lot of merch.
It's crazy when what was it? Maybe you weren't there, but we went to this place, that Bananas Cantina place.
Oh, yeah.
To watch a fight.
Okay.
And it was when, who did he knocked out Aljo.
Aljo, yeah.
Dude, the amount of people that were wearing like freaking like the basketball jerseys.
Yeah.
The green with the pink and stuff.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Because those are fresh jerseys.
You never see that with UFC fighters.
No. And he's just doing, I feel like he's just doing everything right. You know, his style, he's got a flashy style. He's got a fan friendly style to watch, and then he's a character. You know, he's a little bit out there. The colored hair, the way he dresses, the way he carries himself. He's got the eyes on him, and that's why the UFC, I think, is like, yeah, we'll give this guy a second shot.
He's like textbook example of, you ever seen like those memes that they do where they show like a 25-year-old from when the UFC first started, and then a 25-year-old now?
Yeah.
It was literally like a picture of Don Fry when he's 25 and he's got like a big old mustache and like a whole hairy chest, and then it cuts to like Shadow Valley. He looks like he's in high school.
It's a different landscape now for sure compared to then.
They're putting something in our food, dude.
They're doing something. Yeah, something's changing. Something's changing. But I think it's a good matchup. I think Sean makes the adjustments he needs, and I think he probably wins. I'm going to say that.
You think so?
Yeah. You know what? Just his demeanor makes me feel like if I was Merab, would make me feel just a bit uneasy, because it's like, this isn't the usual. Maybe he's not confident. Now I could be wrong. Maybe it's that Sean's not as confident, and that's why he's not talking as much, or he's much more down the business and he's just like, I don't really give a shit about this promo stuff. I just want to fight this guy. And that guy, if it's that guy, I'd be a little uneasy if I was Merab. But, you know, maybe it's the guy who's not as confident as he once was. We'll find out.
I like Merab, dude.
I love Merab.
I think he's probably one of my favorite champs right now.
He's so fun. I think he's very entertaining.
I would hang out with that guy.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he'd be a funny guy to just like go shoot guns with, or go just do anything with, you know, outdoor stuff with. And he seems like just a wild guy who likes to have a lot of fun, and who doesn't want to hang out with that?
Yeah.
You know?
I feel the same way about Ilya right now too. Like that freaking, I'll definitely say in the lightweight division, I'm a little bummed that Poirier's last fight's going to be against Holloway.
Yeah.
Because I was just holding out hope. You know, I'm like, maybe they'll give him one last shot.
Yeah.
Get like a Dan Henderson moment.
Yeah.
To come back one more time
for the belt. Yeah. I think, you know, I like the fight with Max.
I think it'll be a fun fight.
Yeah. But you're wishing you just want to see the boxing with Ilya and see him one more shot at the belt, or?
Dude, let's be honest. Like, of all the fights that Islam's had, that was the closest fight he's been in. The Dustin Poirier one. Not like while he's had this belt, like on this run that he's on right now.
You're right.
Like, he's just walked through just about everybody in that division pretty easily. And Dustin had him hurt, dude. Yeah. He had him hurt. Like, he gave me so much hope in that. Like I was on like hopium, dude. Like,
hopium. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he was Islam's toughest test. And if there's anybody who's, you know, willing or deserves a shot at 55, and with the career he's had, he probably deserves that fight. But I do think like him versus Max again would be sick. I mean, either way, the fans are in for a treat. You don't get what you want, but I think everybody will still be happy.
The question is if he walks through Max.
No. See, this is the problem with fighters who say they're going to retire. Because it's like, sometimes they're like, oh, I've heard of fighters retiring like 3 or 4 times in their career. It's like, oh, I'm going to retire after this fight. And then they win. They feel that jolt again. They're like, oh, I could do this one more time. I'll do it one more time. You know, something in their head starts speaking to them, or the devil on their shoulder is like, yes, you can do this one more time. You still have it. Like, go for the big win. But it's like, dude, hang it up while you're on top. You know what I mean? Don't push your luck, because in this game, like, you stay a little too long, you take damage that you don't necessarily need. You know, and I don't know. I think that fight with Max is going to be amazing, and I think it's a perfect way to end his career.
Yeah,
So.
I'll definitely say that I'm stoked that he's letting everybody know that it's going to be his last fight.
Yeah,
because I wish more fighters would do this.
Yeah,
because I love the whole way that Robbie Lawler got his send off.
Oh my gosh,
you know, like that whole event was just amazing, dude.
Yeah,
like you get to walk out and everybody's freaking pumped out of their minds. And then you get that crazy video that they made. Like they did that really, really
amazing.
Good, you know?
Amazing, yeah.
You could tell like they had time to put into that video because I've seen like the Anthony Smith one didn't even hold a candle to that Robbie Lawler one.
Oh yeah.
Like just the editing was way better. Like I
think the editing
emotional like watching it.
I think the editing and then, you know, no offense to Anthony Smith, but Robbie Lawler's had like just I think probably a little bit more successful career. And like Robbie he's been on the ups and downs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Anthony Smith's career was successful. Don't get me wrong. He's got like 70 fights. The dude has a lot of fights, but he like hit his pinnacle when he fought John. And then from then on, it's kind of been downhill.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, and no offense to him. Like that's how some careers go. And most of them actually go that way. Very rare do you see a guy like he's up and then he goes super down and then back up, you know. Pretty rare. Like a Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes story doesn't really happen very often.
Yeah.
So, or Robbie Lawler story where you see him kind of like he fought in the UFC way back when. Then he fights for Strikeforce. Did okay in Strikeforce. You know, he didn't do amazing, but he did pretty good. And then to get back into the UFC and go on the tear he went on, like you can't write a better ending.
Yeah, and then being champ and everything.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy too. I think he's just like Max. Like he got into the
early.
Like
19.
what was he like 19?
He was like 19 or 18.
That's fucking
like right out of high school. Think about us like a year out of high school fighting in the UFC. Like
dude,
especially during those times, the Wild West, bro, like you got to grow up pretty quick. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
And,
he looks like a little kid too. Like
he's got the baby face, but he's like he's still built, man. You could tell he's like because I think he's from Iowa. He's strong. You can tell he's country boy strong.
Yeah.
And he's just like soft spoken. You're like, this guy's dangerous. This guy's a walking weapon. You don't want to like turn this guy's cheek the wrong way. Like he's going to get you, bro. Like he's a silent killer. That's what I love about Robbie.
Yeah. I love that. You ever see like that clip of him where he was, it's like one of my favorite like quotes from a fighter. When he started saying like when he was fighting and he was like, I realized that everybody was playing a different game than me because they were trying to score points.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to fucking kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there's another video. I don't know the quote verbatim, but they were asking him, you know, back when he fought at 170, they're like, oh, Conor McGregor's going to go up to 170. He's like, yeah. He's like, what would happen? They were like, what would happen if you fought Conor? He's like, well, I wouldn't have taken his neck. I would have taken his soul, you know, because Nate had taken his neck. He's like, I wouldn't have taken his neck. I would have taken his soul. I was like, damn. I was like, bro.
That's freaking dumb.
Yeah, it's just like dark. I was like, he just went to a real dark place right there.
Yeah, dude, that's I might have to make a t-shirt out of that, dude.
Yeah.
That's freaking dumb.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken his neck. I would have taken his soul. I was like, fuck. All right, that was pretty hard. I was like, that gave me chills. But yeah, I think fighters, you know, a guy who's had a career like that deserves a retirement fight where they want to retire against who they want. And I think Poirier's getting everything he wants. It's in Louisiana. It's against Max Holloway, BMF strap. Like, what else do you want?
He's done it the right way too. Like he's got some businesses that he built up and stuff. So
yeah, he doesn't, and he said it. He's like, I don't need to fight anymore. He's just like, I just love this. And like, that's a spot where all of us fighters want to end up at some point, you know, where it's like, hey, we don't need to continue to fight for money. We're good we're good in our lives. Like, so to see him go, like, get to that point and then go out the way he wants is inspiring. That's where all of us want to be.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like textbook. It just kind of goes to show like how precious every fight is.
It really though. Yeah.
Because it's like when you kind of go back and look at his fights, it's like, dude, like realistically, there's not that many Dustin Poirier fights that we can watch, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you think of like football and you get to see your players go out 18 to 22 times a year.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true.
And then you might get that for a whole career.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think in the way he came into the game and he's had an up and down career. You look at he went from 145, which he probably should have never really been fighting 145. He's huge. I don't know how the hell he ever made that weight.
Dude, I feel like 90% of the guys that are in 145 look like they're knocking on death's door. Whenever they fight.
Yeah. That's like a Josh Emmett. Same. Have you ever seen Josh Emmett at a weight?
Yeah.
Bro, he looks terrible.
The freaking cheekbones.
He looks
on him.
terrible. Or Connor back when he fought.
Ilya too.
Ilya
Looked terrible.
Connor, even Connor too. I remember watching Connor at 45 when he made weight against Aldo. I think that was the last time he did it. Dude, he looked terrible. I was like, bro, I don't know how this guy's gonna fight.
Yeah, it was like that picture of him like screaming with the.
Thank gosh, that fight only lasted 10 seconds. Thank gosh he landed that shot because he did not look good at the weigh. I was like, bro, I don't know how this is gonna go. But yeah, like Poirier's career, 45, he loses the Connor, goes back up. Goes up to 55, goes on a run, beats Connor, like has all these great fights, doesn't quite get the belt. He gets the interim belt, but never touches the gold, but like has some of the best fights. Like he's had an up and down career.
And he's in the freaking hardest, probably the most stacked lightweight division of all time.
Definitely.
I agree. Freaking Charles Oliveira, who has the most finishes in UFC history.
Yeah.
You got Islam.
Well, he's fought.
He's never lost outside of his first knockout loss.
I want to say, maybe this isn't complete fact, but I think he's the only guy to fight Habib and Islam in title fights.
Oh yeah, you're correct on that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. I was just thinking that. I'm like, when you said toughest lightweight division, I'm like, actually, I think he's the only guy to fight Habib and Islam for titles, and then like. Bro, you can't get any better than that. Like,
oh, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, like the road he's had to go just to get to the title, and let alone try to win a title. Like, he's fought the best guys in the world. You can't say he hasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, well, an amazing career nonetheless.
Yeah, I think definitely compared to a lot of the other weight classes. That's probably the most stacked in my opinion.
What do you think's the least stacked division right now? I think heavyweight heavyweight's in a weird spot right now. Light heavyweight too.
I think personally, and this kind of goes into,
what we're talking.
Shit on me if you want, but
yeah,
I think
I love it. I love it when there's shit on me if you want. I'm like, I can't wait to hear this.
I think welterweight's pretty weak right now.
Yeah, I agree.
In comparison to a lot of the other ones,
Yeah.
You got Bilal. I've never been super impressed with Bilal.
Yeah.
I think he does enough to win.
Yeah, dude.
And he's one of those guys that always does enough to win.
Yeah.
Sean Brady's decent, but I don't see like the world beaters like at lightweight.
Yeah.
At welterweight. Yep. Same thing with 125. I feel like it's mainly ran by Brandon Royval, Brandon Moreno, and freaking Pantoja.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly why they had those weight classes on Tough this year. They're like, dude, we need some new guys in there that are entertaining.
There's like the three, and that's or I think Ursig's in there too. Ursig's pretty decent. But you're talking about like a few guys versus like lightweight. You can go all the way down from 1 to 10.
Yeah, and it's stacked. Yeah. I wonder, dude, going back to the welterweight and talking about Bilal and Sean Brady, I've never seen Bilal fight so well until he fought. Like, I didn't see him fight very good. I was not impressed until he fought Sean Brady. And he's never really been able to reciprocate that performance. Like, if you will look at him, his striking looks good. He looks just amazing. And I just feel like since then, like, he's had good performances, don't get me wrong, but I think he's fighting not to lose. You know what I mean?
He's scoring points.
He's scoring points, and he's fighting not to lose, which I get, but you're the champ now. Fight to win, bro. You've done it. You have financial security. You're gonna have a job for a while. Fight to win. You know what I mean? And fight for and you got to fight for the fans. You know what I mean? Like, you've now built yourself up to the point where you are the champion. You can take risks now and be like, I'm gonna be okay. So I don't know why he fights the way he does. He is a great grappler, but I agree, he's not.
It is kind of a wild stat to have with over 4 hours and 30 minutes of
UFC. That's a long time in the cage.
Time and one knockdown.
And I think he has one submission. I think he has one submission finish, and he's primarily a grappler, which tells you everything. Like, if you're primarily a grappler and you're not getting submissions, like there's something there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree though. Overall, I'm gonna stop shitting on Bilal for a sec, but I'm gonna shit on the welterweight division in general. I think overall the welterweight division's a little bit weak right now. I think obviously you got Gary, which we've already talked about in protest, but I thought Sean Brady's last performance was really good, and I think he's definitely more well-rounded. The guy that I'm more excited to see that nobody really talks about because I think he just doesn't talk that well is Jack Della. I think
I knew you were gonna say.
I think Jack Della, after his performance against Gilbert Burns, I think that the Gilbert Burns fight showed he's got holes like in his grappling. But dude, he can if Gilbert would have just finished out that third round, he would have won that fight. And Jack Della was like, I got to get up and finish him. And that's literally what he did. And with like a minute left. Like I watched the fight the other day. I was like, because I hadn't watched the fight ever before. I was like, damn, Jack Della's good, bro. His boxing's crisp. And like, he just knows how to find a way to win. And that's a big tell of somebody who's a champion. Like who's going to find a way to win when their back's against the wall. And he did that. So I wish Jack Della would put himself a little bit more out there because I think he's got the entertaining style. He just doesn't quite have that personality, but and I'm sure the UFC want that too. But he's zeroed in when he shows up to fight. You know that dude's gonna come out and he's gonna fight.
Yeah, he's definitely of the welterweight ranked people right now. He's probably one of the only ones that are on the ascension.
Yeah,
like you got Kamaru Usman. Everybody's kind of like tapering off in their career. Yep. His knees are freaking.
How do you think that fight goes? Kamaru Usman, Joaquin Buckley. How do you think that goes? It's definitely it might be the torch being passed.
Dude, Joaquin's like one of those freaking wild cards to me. Like that guy he's just so, I could see him losing like a boring fight with like a lot of grappling to Usman, but I could also see him hitting him with like a freaking wheel kick or like
some crazy shit
ridiculous and knocking him out at some point in the fight,
Yeah, I watched his fight with Colby the other day. I just looked it up on YouTube just to watch it. It just shows how crazy I am. I'm like randomly like in my house. You can ask my wife. I'm like watching just welterweight matchups for the last that's where my head's at.
Well, you're trying to dominate that division.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm watching all these guys' fights right now, and I was watching the Joaquin versus Colby fight, and the one thing Joaquin is like, I mean, he's a physical specimen. Everybody knows that, but he's a bit wild. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have like the most crisp technique in the striking department. He relies on a lot of power. But he looked freaking good against Colby. You got to give it to him. Like Colby tried to wrestle him and just could not do anything. Like Colby's A game wasn't working. And, I think the fight with Kamaru, I think he's going to win. I think it will be a passing of the torches, sadly. I like Kamaru.
I really like Kamaru too. Like, not trying to shit on Kamaru at all. Like,
no,
he's dealt with like a lot of health issues, and I thought that Hamzat fight that he had on short notice, he did great.
He did great.
Like,
yeah,
I think it was only like a week or two notice.
Yep, up at 185 too.
Yeah,
it was up a week.
Moved up and on short notice, like he held his own against a freaking killer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that was the fight that kind of exposed Hamzat. Everybody's like, oh, Hamzat's not human. And I think Kamaru kind of proved, he's definitely human. You know what I mean?
Well, you're fighting a past champ, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's
it's not going to be an easy fight, bro. Yeah. He's not going to lay for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Kamaru's just, he's had a great career. When he won the belt over Tyron Woodley, he looked so dominant. And I think at the time, too, he was looked at kind of like Bilal was. Like, oh, more grappling heavy, not as many finishes. But then, like, he's one of those guys, he always proved the haters wrong. Like, they were like, oh, he's not finishing fights. And then, oh, he's going to get knocked out by Jorge Masvidal. And then he slumps Jorge Masvidal. And I remember him, like, not even being, like, too outspoken about that. He's like, yeah, just look at my work. My work talks. You know what I mean? You guys can say whatever you want, but I'm going to keep doing my thing. And he's always, like, kept that energy throughout his career. So that I've always respected him, but I do think it will be a passing of the torches.
Yeah. Which I think that's like a good space for you to kind of come into it, because I will say that's probably one of the things about the lightweight division that I don't really see in the welterweight division is there's not really like a complete fighter that's
Yeah.
at the top. You know, like when you think of like an Islam,
Yeah.
he's knocked out freaking crazy. It seems like he's kind of like 50-50. He
Yeah.
either slumps you or he freaking
Wrestles.
submits you.
Yep.
Like he doesn't really care which one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
He's freaking
Very dangerous.
He's got that freaking Darce.
Yep.
He's got 2 finishes recently with that Darce, right?
Yeah, he's got 2 finishes with the Darce, and then
He freaking
he head kicked. He
Volk.
head kicked Volk. So like he's definitely probably the most complete fighter right now.
Yeah.
You know, other than, you know, Dana's favorite, John Jones.
Versus like I feel like welterweight. I mean, you still got Leon Edwards up there, but he's primarily a striker.
Yeah.
And
The one thing about Leon, I've watched a lot of Leon, and he just seems like sometimes he's got some mental blockage, like when he goes in there and fights sometimes. Like I think one of the fights that they said that it was one of his better performances, but I was just like, dude, what you need to get back to what you know, and that's him in the Colby fight. Even though he won that fight, Colby was talking a whole lot of shit, was talking about his dad who died, and in the fight, he was like trying to make a point to wrestle with Colby. And I was like, bro, get back to what you know. Get back to what got you to the show, you know, which is his amazing striking. And he just like kept trying to wrestle Colby to like prove a point. And I'm like, dude, that's pride right there. And pride in the fight game is not necessarily a good thing at times. And I was like, he's lucky he won that fight. And if he would have just got back to what he knew, he probably would have knocked Colby out. And I felt like in this last fight with Bilal, he just like got wrestled and just didn't have an answer, and you can just see him get more
demoralized.
Yeah, demoralized. It wasn't even like a frustration where he was like, I'm gonna even try harder. It was more like, damn, man, like this is happening to me. Like an exception, like he accepted it at a point. You know what I mean? And I think he's got like some mental blockages that kind of like stopped him from being champ.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And that head kick, it made me realize too that head kick was a grace from God, dude.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like, don't get me wrong, he threw the technique perfect, but like in that point of the fight, the way Kamaru fights too, like he got pretty darn lucky, throwing that and having that land and put him out like that.
Yeah,
and you know, Leon, I just think Leon could always, if he fixed what's going on up here, he would have been a champ longer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's not the skill; it has nothing to do with the skill.
What did he defend it like once or twice?
I think he defended it twice and then lost to Bilal. Yeah, and now Bilal's got it. But yeah, I think the welterweight division definitely needs some new guys to come in there and spice things up. You know, so perfect time for me. And
well, I'm looking at one.
Yeah, all the boys from Tough 33 to come in and just like, hey, we're here to spice things up a little bit. And man, I can't really speak on obviously like everything that happened. You'll have to watch the show, but all the fights are freaking good. And even Dana said in the last press conference, for I forget which, it wasn't this last weekend, but it was one prior. They were asking him like, oh, you know, was there any drama in the house? He's like, I don't know about any drama, but there were some good freaking fights. And I think like we all brought it, and that's going to be the coolest part of the show. I think Dana saw that and was like, damn, these welterweights are, all these guys, welterweights, flyweights, they're all tough.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good. We all showed that like we belong, and we're here to make things interesting. And you know, you've got some new characters coming onto the scene.
I will say, like, I do love the Ultimate Fighter fights because it's very much like, it reminds me of when we were in COVID.
Yeah. Oh,
like, just the sound is so crisp in there. Like, just the way that they have the microphone set up and everything, you can hear like you can hear like their feet rub on the mat. Like any little thing that happens in there is just so dialed in and crisp.
That was, I would say, like I imagined how it would go before I fought. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I'm picturing it. A couple things though that I didn't picture were, one, not having any walkout music, like at all. There was no music. You throw the doors open and it's pure silence.
They cut to the slow-mo.
Yeah, and it's just you're walking with your coaches and you can hear there's 20, 30 people sitting in chairs and stuff, and then Dana's sitting there cage side, and you're like, dude, there's like no sound. You just hear you walking with your coaches. That's it. And then when you get into the cage, this was like the weirdest part for me, was you get into the cage, there's no announcer. The cameras come in. There's one camera guy panning and just like videotaping you, and another camera guy panning and videotaping your opponent. The ref's just kind of standing there off to the side, and they're in there for like a minute. So you're like just looking at your guy for like a minute, 2 minutes, just like, all right, are we gonna do this or not? You know what I mean? And then there's no announcing. They just kind of like, they get the shots they need, and then they just kind of like pan out of the cage, and the ref's like, you ready? You ready? Let's fight. And I was like, dude, this is weird. Like, I was like, I thought I envisioned it accurately, like before the fight, like how it would be. And it was not like that. I was like, damn, this is weird. This is different.
It's kind of like more like a street fight.
Yeah, for sure. It feels like a back alley. You get like, we're in a back alley and there's like some guy who's like, you guys want to fight? I'll ref it for you guys. Don't worry. Like, I'll make sure that all the rules are obliged and you guys don't kill each other. Like, sure. It just felt weird. Yeah, it felt super weird. But it's crazy. It's just a crazy feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't wait till those come out, dude.
Oh, it's gonna be nuts.
Can't wait to see it.
It's gonna be nuts, man. I can't wait either. I think.
What are we, like a little over?
I think we're a month, a little less than a month now. Yeah,
a few weeks.
Yeah. So it's gonna be sick. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to set up some stuff for that.
Yeah, I think our idea of having a post-episode show is going to be a huge hit. I think we definitely need to do that.
I think we definitely got to.
Yeah, I think we, and guys, let us know if you'd be interested in it. But what we're thinking about the concept is after each episode to do a live show and to basically, like, obviously you watch the episode, there's a lot to, see because they shoot the episode. It's an hour long, but like I can give some more context to certain things because I was there, you know what I mean? And you can get, kind of like the stuff behind the scenes.
Well, it's also, it's a TV show, and it's a TV show that's an hour long. So they got to cut out 90% of it that's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So I think obviously with it being the Ultimate Fighter, but then also I'll bring in kind of like even if it's not my fight, or my episodes, like I know kind of the behind the scenes kind of stuff, how people interacted in the house, living with these people. Like I got to know these people very well. So I think you'll get a good outlook from me, Yeah. And I think it'll just be sick for everybody.
It'll be great, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you keep in contact with anybody in the house, but I don't know if anybody else is doing anything like that.
I don't think anybody is. At least nobody's like posted anything like they're going to do something like that or like have a podcast or anything. So I think we're kind of the only ones thinking about it.
Holding it down,
which maybe we should cut this and not post it and give other people ideas. But and we just come out with the first episode like, boom, we got it. But I don't think anybody else is kind of doing what we're doing. So
I mean, I think there's enough room at the table for everybody,
Oh yeah.
So I think especially like knowing those people, it would be beneficial for anybody to come up.
Actually, it would be cool to maybe for some of the episodes, just thinking out loud to like live stream them in. Maybe they can't be here at the table with us, but like have them like, come in on Zoom and talk about their episode. Would add, even better, especially if it's their episode, more context to like what actually happened.
That would be sick.
And actually it'd be sick. So we just came up with that right now. So that would actually be a sick idea.
Dial in your opponent.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. That would actually those episodes would be even better if we dial in my opponent after the fact. Get both of our sides of the story. Like that would actually be pretty cool.
I wonder.
They'd be down. They'd be down.
You think so?
I think so.
Did you ever like talk to any of them?
Like briefly, like on Instagram, we'll message each other back and forth sometimes. Like, just stuff or see.
Is that common for you though? Like when you fight, do you ever like talk to your opponents?
So personally, not really. Usually in the past, I feel like it's just a mindset thing. Like after fights, you're kind of crushing somebody's dreams. As sad as that sounds, as harsh as that sounds, it is kind of what's happening. And so I feel like it's kind of disingenuous for me to like say something to them because there's nothing that's going to make them feel better about what happened. Like right after, you know what I mean? Some guys like rush the locker room. They want to hug and like pray for their guy. Like I'm like, dude, if I was in that boat, I wouldn't want anybody to come talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, and I've lost before, so I know, like, dude, give me space. Like, I'm one of those people. I just need space to like, you know, go like feel my emotions and kind of go through, you know, what just happened, you know, digest it.
I feel like even in some wins, you're like that too.
Yeah. Even me. Well, that's the thing.
Definitely like very hard on yourself.
Yeah, I'm definitely my worst critic. I mean, I think that's why I'm really good. That's part of why I'm really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think, you know, on the other side of the coin, when you do win, like, it's like there's nothing I'm going to be able to tell the guy that's going to make his day any better or him look at this experience like in a positive light, at least right then and there. So I kind of just like, I give my opponent space, and like usually I don't really say much to him. But like with this is like being on the Ultimate Fighter is just like such a special like moment and just like such a special experience that like there was never, at least in my heart, I never had any bad blood like or bad thoughts towards really anybody that I fought. Like I was just so blessed to be there. And like I was so in the moment, and I knew like I wasn't gonna let like outside people acting weird or crazy like affect my performances. That was the biggest thing. Like I was like, I'm so dialed in. I'm like, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? And there wasn't anything getting get in the way of that. So like after my fights, like I personally don't have any issue with anybody. And like, yeah, I still talk to those guys, and you'll find out who they are, and you know, it'll be sick. But yeah, the Ultimate Fighter was just such a special experience. So I think that's a little different than just like a fight.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to get into a little bit of this crazy story that we brought up a little bit, thinking about you and your drugged up
my oxycodone as I got my wisdom teeth pulled. Yeah. So Ian Heinisch.
It's kind of a crazy story. Honestly,
very crazy story.
Honestly, this is like, I feel like a lot of the stories that we talked about are very much, it always happens the same way. Guy wants to become a fighter. Guy becomes fighter. Guy fucks up his life.
Yep.
Guy's out of the UFC.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how he managed to do all of that in reverse.
Yeah.
But it's pretty freaking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single other person that I've researched that's had a downfall kind of like the same way that he had, that was able to kind of recover after that. Yeah,
I think there's not a lot of guys with his background that make it to the UFC. And when your life is literally, it's like being a drug mule for a lot of his life, he was just doing drugs, and you don't think of those guys becoming professional athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the world of the UFC, you know, there's all sorts of characters, and listening to his story was really, really crazy. Especially, I'll kind of fast forward in his story, but he started training while he was in prison in Spain. Like he got in prison for like dealing drugs in Spain, and basically started training, like, I guess in the prison systems in Spain, they do like luchador, which is like their wrestling.
Lucha Canaria.
Or Lucha Canaria, my bad. Luchador. Oh my god.
Dude, it looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
It looks super sick. Like
it's like a gi
sand.
bottom.
Yeah, the gi bottom with the sand pit.
Yeah.
Like,
so I was like, bro, that's pretty sick. And then like they had like boxing programs and stuff like that. And he just said that, you know, he was drawn to it. He wrestled at a young age. And was really successful in high school. Like he was like a two-time, I think
he was a two-time All-American, two-time national champion.
Two-time national champ.
And then something state champ.
I think he was a state champ, and then like he had like good college rides coming his way.
I always wonder like because you ever notice that there's some people, I feel like John Jones is kind of like this.
Okay.
Where they just have like a mental acuity where like when he was talking about basically when he was younger, obviously he's born in Denver, Colorado, spent a lot of time there. He got into drugs at like a pretty early age.
Yeah.
With like his ADHD, you know, he was already kind of used to taking things like Adderall, which is kind of like meth. I mean, I don't really.
It is legal meth.
There's a lot of young kids that I've seen that are on that, dude, and they look kind of. It's really sad, honestly.
Yeah.
Just seeing like the bags under their eyes and stuff. They look like they're like 30 years old at a young age.
Yeah.
I definitely don't recommend that, but it seems like that was what kind of started that whole drug thing.
Yeah.
And just seeing like he was talking about basically he took a crap ton of drugs and totaled his Mustang and had a wrestling tournament the day after.
Yeah.
And won the whole tournament.
Yeah. And he said that was like a big kind of his downfall. Because he's like, I realized I could do all that shit and still win.
Everybody was pissed. They're like, how the fuck did he win this shit?
Yeah.
You know? And but it's just so weird. It's kind of like John Jones, too. John Jones had fights like that.
Yeah.
He had that Gustafsson fight. And he didn't even really train for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and he literally says it in all of his fights in his career. He'd go party a week before and then go out there and win. And at least he had that safety net. Just in case he lost, he'd be like, well, if I lose, it's because I partied a week before my fight. And I just think, those guys, they're so physically gifted. And like, as much as they make stupid decisions, doing drugs, whatever, they're mentally like, they're the kind of people who like do everything at 100%. They're either all in or all out. And fighting is that. If you're half in, you're not going to be a successful fighter. And so I think Ian like literally trained outside of prison for like 4 years, made in the UFC, which is insane. That's like unheard of. That's kind of like it's kind of like a John Jones story where like he gets out of, I think John got out of NAIA. He was wrestling NAIA, got out, was being a bouncer. Then he ended up training in some gym up in Rochester, won like his 7 pro fights in a row, like within like months, and then was in the UFC. And you're like, dude, this guy's been training like MMA in total, like 2 years, something like that, a year. You know what I mean? Like that.
That's so crazy.
That's so crazy. So in the Ian story, I just think it's crazy that one, he got put into the Spanish prison where he learned this crazy wrestling, and then he had like boxing programs and stuff, and he had like an epiphany that he was gonna be a UFC world champ while he was in prison. Like he was like, God's telling me like to chase this, and like this is my way out. And once he gets out of the Spain's prison, he gets sent to New York, goes to, I forget what prison. It's like
Rikers Island.
Rikers Island, bro, dude.
And it's crazy too, because everywhere he stopped along the way, like this guy could not stay out of trouble.
No,
like he immediately coming from America, basically he sold so much drugs here.
Yeah,
he got caught with like 2,000 pills or something.
Yeah,
so he fled the country
to Spain.
And you know what's crazy to me?
Or
about
to Amsterdam. Yeah.
No, he went to Canada first.
Oh yeah, he went to Canada. Yeah, you're right.
The crazy thing is he didn't even have a passport when he got arrested.
Yeah,
and this dude is like, he got arrested for like federal drug charges, and then he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get my passport and leave. And they were like, here you go.
Yeah,
like,
post office was like, we'll give you one, don't worry.
You think they would do like a background check and be like, yeah, you're not leaving the country, bro?
I think they probably have that. Nowadays you can't do that.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, the system is
weird because it wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah,
like we're talking about like the 2010s, like early 2000s.
Yeah,
like, it's really not that long.
Not that long ago. Yeah.
But yeah, so then he was able to go to freaking Canada, and then he goes to jail for 8 months there.
Yep.
And then he flees to freaking Amsterdam, starts selling over there, goes to freaking jail there. And then, so the thing is, he ends up going to the Canary Islands,
right?
Which is kind of like the Bahamas, but it's controlled by Spain.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So then he went to jail in the Canary Islands, and then eventually they extradited him back to the Spanish mainland, which is where all that stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to a story, and I was just like, one, obviously, this guy's nuts. Has a crazy story, but like.
It's also crazy though too, because when he was doing the drug smuggling, he was going back and forth to Colombia.
Yeah,
and they were just getting so brazen, like that before they would space it out, because he would basically like he'd bring drugs over, but he was going like every month, just like back and forth, and they're like, "Why are you coming over here so much and leaving?"
Yeah, yeah. He said
it's super suspicious. Obviously.
Oh yeah, but then I in one of his interviews he talks about how. Like they pulled him off to the side, like security at the airport when he was doing this, and they X-rayed him the first time, and he got away with it. He's like, I have no idea how they just didn't see it or what. Like they did not catch, even though I had it on me. Like he's like, I thought I was done for,
They're like, this guy's full of shit, bro.
Yeah, yeah. And so then they literally let him go. And he's like, we even got more cocky after that because we realized, like, if these guys, they literally got us in front of the x-ray machine. What, they can't read the x-rays? You know what I mean? Like, we'll just keep doing this more and more then. And, like, just talk about a life of just uncertainty and, you know, no stability. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even know. You're living just to make the next day and, like, get your next like load of drugs off and be like, all right, I made my money. You know what I mean? Like, just a very wild life.
It's crazy, like, just hearing about how much drugs he would take.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm no like genius in this world, but I mean, I know how much a gram is because I weigh my food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So
Yeah.
50 grams of cocaine in a
That's
day.
a lot of cocaine. Holy crap, dude. That's a lot of cocaine. Yeah.
And that's expensive too. Like, it just kind of goes to show, like, when you're in that kind of cycle, it's so funny because it's the exact opposite of what Lee Murray was in the first story that we had.
Yeah.
Because Lee Murray, he kind of mainly just sold drugs. I mean,
Yeah.
like, he did a little bit of drugs, but he mainly was making money.
He wasn't hooked on drugs.
So, like, imagine like the amount of weight you need to move to not only make enough money to kind of survive, but then also fuel your own drug habit.
Right.
It's just like exponentially like crazy, you know?
Yeah.
It's like every little bit of it's going just to kind of keep you on the path that you're going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's freaking nuts.
And he said that he talks about the common denominator in him always getting back on drugs was alcohol. He's like, that was a start, bro. Once alcohol was in my system, then the drugs, I would just go do drugs. And he said I had a family, you know, a family path. Like his dad partied hard, his cousins all had problems. Like, he's like,
it definitely seems like his dad wasn't the best role model for him though,
No.
because there was also another interview that I seen where he was basically telling his dad that he was going to be a fugitive from the law and leave the country, and his dad was like,
"Fuck yeah, yeah, I did say yeah.
Let's go, buddy.
Let's do it, dude.
You're like,
that's my son."
You're like, I cannot believe you said that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, like, it just goes back to like your, you know, when your family, you have a family like past of that kind of stuff, and that, like, it's part of you. You know what I mean? And you're surrounded by it. You know, so like that's kind of probably all he's really known. Like, obviously, his dad. They said his dad was like a good business owner. They were like a middle class family. But when you still have those like underlying issues within the family where you can still be, you know, making good money, running a business, but you can also still be a drug addict. And there's plenty of people who do it.
Yeah.
You know, until you take action towards that problem, it's always going to be there. And in his story, it's crazy that he didn't die, especially I think in the Rikers Island story when he talks about it, he's like, dude, I was like very close to being like people running into my cell and stabbing me.
It is pretty crazy too, like when you think of all the different, so he's been in Canada.
Yeah.
He went to the Canary Islands, which was a Spanish prison, Colombia, like Europe.
Yeah.
Of all of the places that he said were super freaking crazy, and like none of those other places made the list.
Yeah.
It was literally just, he said
Rikers.
England was insane.
Yeah.
But of all of them, Rikers was the craziest place.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it's very, like I've seen documentaries about that place, like really in-depth stuff, and it does seem very like corrupt.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said. He's like, the biggest thing is like the guards, they're in the gangs. That was his biggest thing, was like the guards are in the gangs. That's
like, did you ever hear about the Khalif Browder story?
No. So I've heard Khalif Browder, the name. I've heard that name, but I've never heard of the story.
So essentially, he was like an African American guy from New York, and he was basically accused of stealing a computer, like a laptop from like a backpack.
Gotcha.
And they had no real evidence on him to like prove or disprove anything, but they held him without like being able to like get like a speedy trial or something like that.
Yeah.
So he was basically held in Rikers while they were trying to figure out if he stole like a $300 laptop.
Oh, jeez.
And dude, like the stuff that went on with him was crazy. And there's a really good documentary on it you should watch, because they have all of the security cam footage from the prison.
Yeah.
So just seeing like like he would basically, some of the people would get pissed off at him,
Uh-huh.
and they would set stuff up with the guards. Where there was one time where they just left his thing unlocked.
They sell unlocked.
And there was like 20 people that just come in and start beating the shit out of him and
Yeah.
like, screwing him up. So it's very like, it's kind of like corrupt from the top down.
Down. Yeah.
You know? Like if you want to get to somebody in there, you're gonna get to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what Ian says is like he was because he was in Spain, like he could speak Spanish. And so he was good with like the Mexican gangs. Enough where like he could talk to them, you know, he could communicate with them. But at Rikers, there's not like a big population of, I guess, white gangs. And so he was saying like, he's like, I kind of felt like a lone wolf out there. And at one point, I think he had gotten like a fight with somebody, or something happened where basically one of the gangs was real pissed off at Ian. And they were saying like, hey, like, they're gonna stab you. Like they're gonna stab you. They call it like a
SOS,
stab on sight. Yeah. So they were like,
which is not what I thought that meant.
No, neither did I. And so they're like, dude, you're SOS. He's like, what that? They're like stab on sight. So like they're gonna get you. And so he's just in his cell all night, like awake, like making body armor and shit. He knows like in the morning he thinks that they're gonna let them into his cell like an hour before wake up, and he's gonna get killed. So he's like preparing, and he's like building body armor. His cell's all ripped up, like all the stuff in his cell. And then I think he said that U.S. Marshals came in and were like, you know, heinisch, like you're coming with us. And he's like, what? And like he was like expecting to be, you know, gangs to come in and stab him, and these like marshals came in and were like, we're taking you, it's time for you to go. And he was like, man, he's like, I thought I was like saved in that moment, because he's like, I didn't think I had much longer to live.
I definitely feel like he was probably pretty stoked to go to a prison in Colorado coming from there.
Yeah, oh for sure. Versus Rikers, dude, that's just insane. Like, and talk about just like you know, you've just timing. You know what I mean? Like, I think this dude's story, he gets so many chances. You know what I mean? And I think he acknowledges that in his interviews. Like, bro, I got so many chances. Like, there's a reason I'm here, and I keep getting these chances. You know, and I think he realized that like there was a God. He could feel something. You know what I mean? Because nobody gets this lucky. When you hear this guy's story, you're like, dude, there's no way this guy, yeah, he's making it that far. But
lucky and unlucky.
Yeah, true, very true.
But also too, like I think he needed to get caught.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think a little bit. I feel like a lot of times people are very like dismissive of people who have drug problems because they're like, fucking junkie or whatever.
Yeah,
but like, especially coming from the lens of like a Christian person, whereas like when you think of like God and like sin and stuff like that, all sin is on the same level. You know, like there's not one that's worse than the other. Like if you do any of them, like you're condemned, you know, and you need forgiveness. So it's really easy for people to think like, oh, these fucking druggies, but think of like anything that you do habitually like that, whether it be lying or pornography or like anything, substitute that for what he's got, and then just think about how many times you go back and do that thing.
Yeah.
And as you get better, like the frequency might slow down, but you never just
fully on cold turkey stop.
You know, like it takes a while to kind of like break out of that shit.
Get control of it.
And it kind of seemed like that's how he went too, you know, like he went from doing it pretty much every day to kind of like slowing down a little bit and then falling back into it, and then falling back into it.
Yeah, even when he I think he was 8-0 when he got into professional fighting. Like he fought like 8 fights in a row, won them all by like finish. And then he's fought for the LFA title, and they're like, dude, if you win this fight, you're going to be in the UFC. And he said he got, you know, back on like I think it was oxycodone or one of those drugs.
Be careful.
Yeah, I know. No, I really ought to be careful. But yeah, he got back on drugs when it's like the most important fight of his life. He loses the fight. He gets submitted, and you're just like, he's like, damn, I'm back to square one. You know what I mean? And like, I think he realized he keeps you keep losing this battle to this thing that's, is so powerful. And you realize you have no power over it. It's got you. And I think what I'm trying to get to is like he needed he needed some big goal or big task to like pull himself away from that in some regard. It's like in today's world, like if you don't have like a big goal or something to like keep your mind off it or like build you up, you're going to keep you're going to be taken over by this thing,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why there's a lot of people that like, they just need to keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep finding the next thing to like accomplish. And that keeps you going, And I think he was one of those guys, like, he's like, dude, I need to get in the UFC. I need to like make my life better. And we'll talk about a crazy turnaround. He like lost that fight in LFA. I think he won
a fight in LFA right after.
Right after, and then he ends up in the UFC, and then he wins. I think he wins his first 2 fights.
Yeah, he did. It's kind of crazy because I kind of forget how long the Contender series has been around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He
got on the Contender series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long. That was a minute ago, and then he won his first 2 fights in the UFC. Ends up like ranked number 9, I think, in the world. He gets to that point, and not a very long amount of time. You know what I mean? Like we're talking like a year and a half. Like he's been in the UFC and he's already he's like top 10 in the world,
which is
crazy, bro. Like
it's a good comp to right now would be Diego Lopez.
Yeah.
Like that's basically kind of Diego Lopez kind of speed ran that whole division.
Yeah.
Like he got ranked quick.
Yeah. And it's all because of that it's because he took that risk with Ivalov. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, just talk about like a crazy amount of quick success. You know what I mean? Like he got right into the UFC, takes like 2 fights, beats 2 big names, then he's number 9 in the world. Like, and he was just in jail like not that long ago.
In the Canary Islands.
Yeah, like bro, like
wrestling in a sand pit.
Dude, honestly, they just made the movie about Mark Kerr. They need to make a movie on Ian Heinisch because like that's his story's insane.
Yeah. I feel like it's you could definitely make a movie about his story.
Yeah.
There's some people I feel like TV shows are a little bit better for certain things, but
I'm gonna take my hoodie off real quick. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, it's just freaking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
And I think kind of going back to that other part, there's a reason why they say idle hands are the devil's playthings. And it's not even just like, oh, okay, Ian Heinisch.
Yeah.
I think about that Dustin Poirier interview a lot where he was talking about like how when he doesn't have a goal, he's very like self-destructive.
Yeah.
And he drinks too much and does like different things, so he has to be very like goal oriented. And I think that's a lot of us.
Yeah, I agree.
I think when you got nothing going on and every day feels the same, everything feels very like gray.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just you got to keep just got to keep moving. I think that was the biggest thing like in any time I'm like on the show. Like for instance, this doesn't really like relate, I'll say, but like you have so much time. You know what I mean? You have time. There's no distractions. So like my thing was like I just got to stay busy, bro. Like I got to keep moving. And if I keep moving, then my mind's clear, like, and I'm operating at a high frequency. But like once you slow down, you just like then the weekends come and there's no training. That was the biggest, there's no training, there's no practice. You could see guys just like, fuck, dude, like I need to train. Like I have nothing to do. They didn't do well by themselves with no distractions. You know what I mean?
What did you guys do on the week? Oh,
well, on the weekend?
No, like you're saying they didn't do anything.
Like so on Saturdays, like so I think I can talk about this. Saturdays, like we didn't have a session. Like there would be no training.
So you just kind of hang out or whatever?
Just hang out at the house, and that's when you can see people are like, dude, like they don't do well with time by themselves. You know what I mean? With nothing to do.
Plus, it kind of seems like from the previous seasons, like they don't. It's all good TV.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to like fuck off and drink and be all crazy, like they'll kind of just let you do it, even though that's probably not what you should be doing when you're there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely that's definitely a thing.
I.e. Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, even at that small scale, like, if you get bored, I feel like the human mind is like not wired to not have anything going on, or like to not have a goal. You know what I mean? Once we start getting lackadaisical and not having a goal or working towards something, we become very self-destructive. I almost think it's kind of our nature in a way, because we're built to like grow and build and do things. And when we're not doing that, and we're not fulfilling our purpose, like, we start doing stupid shit. And that's just that's our nature. So
yeah, I definitely think with Ian too, I can't even really imagine with that heavy of drug use and then adding fighting into it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine what that does to your brain, because you were kind of talking a little bit about like that scenario towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
He was dealing like with some mental issues.
Oh yeah. Well, he was supposed to fight Sam Alvey, which
is crazy.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
That would have been
Smiling Sam.
That would have been training at dance too.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been crazy. And during that, he was getting prepared for that fight with Sam, and he said that he was heading to the gym one day and he missed his turn. And then he just kept driving, and then realized, like, he's like, I don't know where I'm at, and like had a panic attack. Then he realized like something was really wrong with him. Like the brain with trauma had already happened, and he was like, dude, I can't fight. Like, I need to figure this out. And so he pulled out of that fight and he retired, which is like, talk about like the highest high. Like, bro, you got in the UFC, you're top 10 in the world. You've gone through all this crazy stuff. And then it's like, God's like, pump the brakes. Like, you're done. You know what I mean? Like, that's a tough thing to deal with, a tough pill to swallow, because you're just getting your life together. You're making good money for the first time. You have some, you're being consistent. There's some consistency. And so for him to just just have to stop. But for him to be big enough to make that decision, he knew he needed to stop, is even crazier, because most guys don't. And that's the issue with MMA. That's the issue with prize fighting.
And he doesn't seem like he was ever a person to be like, okay, I need to hang it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it took him a long time to do that with the drugs,
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, dude, I don't think he would have made it.
I think that, and then just like that panic attack really, I mean, when you've been driving to the same gym every day for your career, and you don't know where you're at and you miss your turn, like, that definitely like puts things in perspective. Like, you don't want to feel like that again. Yeah. And, it's a big decision for him to make, and, good on him for making it, because a lot of guys just aren't able to make it.
Yeah. I think, that life kind of comes in phases, and I think for him, definitely that was probably the better thing for him.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's gone on to do like some pretty sweet stuff. He's got like some organizations that he works with that basically help people with that struggle with drug addiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody who knows anything about that,
it's him.
Probably Ian Heinisch.
For sure. For sure.
So, like, who are you going to listen to if you're in that boat? I would listen to that guy.
Yeah. I heard too, he's got like his facility. It's like a faith-based treatment facility with martial arts, which I thought that's such a great idea.
That's a great combo right there.
That's a great combo right there. Talk about just like, the discipline side of things, and then having God, in your life, I think is huge. And, we need more of that. All of us, all people need that discipline in God. So
it's kind of interesting though, that we only really teach people what they should do if they hit rock bottom. Isn't that kind of interesting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of places that people can go in our society that teach like that rigorous structure,
right,
outside of like a place like that.
Yeah. And I think you got a good point. Like, it's only taught when you hit rock bottom. It should be more of like a preventative, like, hey, this is how you don't hit rock bottom. Have these like pillars in your life that allow you to have this structure and allow you to flourish, versus like, okay, now I'm going to try to establish these things once I've hit rock bottom. You know what I mean? Like, that's the wrong message. Like, you should always have these things in your life and try to like make them a big part of your life that you don't go down that road. I think, I don't know why that's not necessarily like taught, or I think a reason why maybe is that people like a story where somebody fucks up their life and then gets it all back together.
Yeah.
As you've heard Joe Rogan say, like he likes the story where somebody fucks their life up and gets back together. You know?
Which is, I think, why I like this story so much.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you might not think about it that way, but man,
that's it. If there's a story that says this is the one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's been through all the downs to then like all the ups and downs, and to get where as far as he got in the UFC in this short amount of time, like, man, like that's just insane. You don't even think that's possible, you know?
Especially like with his like career criminal record.
Yeah.
I don't know there's a lot of other things he would have been able to
do. Yeah, that's true.
Like
to make a living. You're right.
Like God really blessed him with the ability to beat people up.
Yeah, facts. Very true.
So, and it came at a good time, and then it went at a good time. I think, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, it's just a big decision, and good on him for being able to make it. Because like I said, I've already said it a couple times now, but it takes a lot for people to be able to walk away from this, you know, because it becomes their purpose, and they love it so much. They're dedicated their lives to this. And when you realize things could, you know, that you're having downfalls, you know, in your mental health, like he's like, hey, I need to step away and I need to retire. And that's huge.
Do you feel like getting closer to 30, like you think about your life a little bit on a longer time horizon than you did when you were in your younger 20s?
For sure. Yeah, I think now that I'm going to turn 30 this year. It's not that I'm like more afraid of like the brain damage part of it or anything like that, but I do think of it more like I guess like a business. You know what I mean? Like I have that business lens of like, I'm here to make money and to make enough and support my family and to hopefully build a future where I don't have to do this for a super long period of time. You know, like I don't want to be one of these guys that are like 41, 42, still trying to fight just for a paycheck. And because I need the paycheck. That's a bad spot to be in. You know what I mean? Like you are literally fighting for the money at that point and you're past your prime. And so I'm looking at it more like, okay, I need to make the most of my time and establish this future, you know, outside of fighting, you know, with obviously I have to be successful in my fighting to make the money and be successful in that. But like, I need to establish other means of income outside of it. And I have to look at it like a business. I think that's what my outlook has been, is different now that I'm about to turn 30 than I was 20. 20, I was more like, dude, I just want to fight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even care about all the shit that comes with it. Like, I just loved fighting, you know? And I knew that from a young age. I knew back in high school, I was like, dude, especially after I had my first fight, I was like, I'm hooked. Like, this is it. You know, I love fighting. And I didn't even, not that I was like, oh, I'm going to be in the UFC, but I just wanted to fight. Now I'm definitely, you know, as I've progressed, you have to look at it more like a business.
Yeah.
You know,
which is so funny when I think of somebody like you, because it's like I know you so well, and you're like the most friendly person on the face of the earth. But then you just love beating the shit.
Bro, I love beating the shit out of people. Yeah. No, I think it's one of those things that
like you'll give stuff to like homeless people.
Oh yeah.
You do all this stuff. Like you're so generous. But, But then when it comes to getting in that cage, like it's just
different, bro.
You're generous with those fists.
Yeah, facts. I'll feed them to anybody who wants them in the cage. That's for sure. But yeah, you know, it's I'm one of those people. I'd give, you know, the shirt from my back, you know, and give it to somebody if they needed it. But I just love fighting. There's something. It's not about hurting the other person really either. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's like the art of it. You know what I mean? Like, and being in the moment. I feel like we're all living in the future, the past, trying to figure out our shit, and we're just like, the only time we really have is in the moment. And I feel like I'm in the most in the moment when I'm in that cage. You know what I mean? Like there's just now. And I love that feeling. So
it's kind of more like, like the fire tempers the steel. So it's like you're testing your own resolve.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think too, like, now that I have gotten as far as I am, like, I know that there's a lot more to the story to be written. And like that fires me up. That's why I'm watching other welterweights fights right now, like nonstop while I'm waiting for my wisdom teeth to heal. Cause I'm like, dude, like I know that time's coming. That time is coming. It's going to happen. I know it. And with all my being, I know it. And I'm going to capitalize when that time comes. And, I want to go down as one of the best to ever do it. That's my goal. And that hasn't always been my goal, but now I'm like, I know I'm capable of that. So,
and you can figure that out May 27th.
Yeah, May 27th on
The
Ultimate Fighter season 33, the 20th anniversary season. You get to really get to know me for sure, and see what I'm about. So,
and maybe see some clips that we filmed together. Hopefully,
yeah, absolutely. I think you definitely will see some of the clips. That
I can finally be like, hey, look,
I shot that.
I shot that.
It's gonna be sick. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, brother, appreciate you coming back out.
Hey,
this was a good one.
This is a great one. I loved it.
Yeah.
Good stories. Thank you guys for tuning in here at the Fighter One podcast.